Now this is an interesting read from the comments, or some of the comments, of Bill Murphy. I think he's with GATA. GATA's Bill Murphy has just publicly released stunning new revelations regarding JP Morgan's alleged silver manipulation. Bill Murphy states an informed source has advised him that JP Morgan was compelled to stop manipulating the silver market in January of 2011. And that fact is the reason why silver ran from $28 to $50 over the next 6 months. Although actually, technically it was April. So January, February, March, April, 3 months, not 6 months. It ran from $28 roughly to $50 in about 3 months, 2.5, somewhere around there. Bill Murphy states, JP Morgan took down silver in the infamous overnight end of May 2011, or end of April into May 2011 raid from an auxiliary account, and began manipulating silver again in June of 2011. Bill Murphy's source also states that JP Morgan's CIO derivatives losses, which were the ones that we just dealt with the other day, $2 billion, which now turned into $6 or whatever billion, states that that loss, the derivative losses, are actually tied to the Bear Stearns short silver positions that JP Morgan inherited from the Fed in 2008 when Bear Stearns went under, because they couldn't handle the silver short position. It destroyed them, by the way. And that the LIBOR scandal will soon engulf JP Morgan in a silver manipulation scandal, likely when the CFTC releases their findings on the silver manipulation within the next 30 to 60 days. Murphy states, it has come to my attention in January 2011, JP Morgan, for some yet unknown reason, was compelled to stop manipulating the silver market. That is when the price of silver went vertical to the upside, which, by the way, gives you a little taste. That was a little taste of where silver will go next. And if it only took 2.5 months to double from 28 to, roughly whatever, to 50, imagine if this whole story comes out, exposes the whole thing, manipulation stops, there's not going to be something on the other end to cap the price, like JP Morgan or the government via JP Morgan or via the CME group or any other bozo. You do not want to be going out and buying silver when that happens. You want to be buying silver now. Let me read this for you. So for some yet unknown reason, they were compelled to stop manipulating the silver. That's when the price of silver went vertical to the upside. Silver practically went straight up to $49 an ounce. Then it collapsed for no apparent reason. That reason, from my most well-informed source, and again, I have no idea who his source is, and I don't care to tell. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I believe this guy 100% because he's got some inside source. He's got a Lindsey Williams source. No, the only person who's ever used the word "I have a source" and it was actually phenomenal information, Lindsey Williams. Nobody else have I ever heard that from. So I do trust Bill Murphy. I've read a lot of his stuff. He's with GATA. He's definitely one of the good guys on this. He's claiming he has a source, so take it however you want to take it. That's all I'm saying. But this is still interesting. So it went from $28 to $49 practically, almost overnight kind of thing. Then it collapsed for no apparent reason. That reason, from my most well-informed source, was that JP Morgan came back into the market in June. Now, if that is the case, JP Morgan worked through some sort of auxiliary account to overnight raid silver in the earliest of May in 2011, because that is when the gold cartel / JP Morgan went into combative action in earnest to crash the price down. I hope to be able to explain more of this in the near future, but that is what I can put in the public domain for the moment, is what he says. Regarding JP Morgan's CIO losses, that derivatives loss, which they're saying is actually tied to the silver short position. So and by the way, let me read this before I bounce around 1,000 places like I always do. JP Morgan's public declaration about being offside on a $2 billion hedge transaction was not fully transparent. My sources tell me that was the case, but in addition, that what JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said at the time was camouflaging another serious financial problem. At the time, it made little sense that a CEO would talk about a trade loss of that kind when his firm was making $18 billion a year. The smell meter that the situation was much more serious than $2 billion lit up the light bulbs on the GATA camp scoreboard. Since then, New York Times has reported the amount of the total loss could be as high as $9 billion. The bottom line here, my well-informed source tells me that the JP Morgan lament is about a derivatives problem, or lament, whatever, is about a derivatives problem that also involves the silver position JP Morgan took over for the Fed when Bear Stearns went belly up. That does make sense, by the way. I hope to have more particulars on this declaration in the near future. The main point is that JP Morgan has some serious issues with their present short silver position and is having difficulty extricating itself from that position. Whether it has to do with coming up with a large amount of borrowed physical silver, I'm not sure. We will stay on the case and report any new developments. Should the CFTC finally release a verdict, as Bart Chilton advised the Silver Doctor readers, or from this article, would be coming by September, allegedly, which June, July, August, September, we're getting close, implicating JP Morgan of manipulating silver, we are potentially looking at a perfect storm of scandals converging on the JP Morg, if you will, at the same moment. Does anybody have any popcorn? That's what he says. That was, I think, from Silver Doctor's comment. Does anybody have any popcorn? So back to where I was going to interrupt, how it said, JP Morgan's public declaration about, this offside $2 billion hedge for whatever transaction was not fully transparent. My sources tell me that was the case, but it was in addition to that. There's another serious problem. The smell meter, $2 billion lit up. Let me scroll back down here. The bottom line is that his sources. Okay, the silver short position. They're blaming this whole thing on the London trader, this whale guy, right? They inherited a time bomb. JP Morgan inherited, handed to by the Fed, here's a time bomb, you're taking it. And while you have this, we're your guy. We're going to look the other way on some things. We're going to give you lots of money to play with. But you're going to have to handle this. Because the Federal Reserve and the United States government, which you can look at that as one entity, the U.S. government, can't dare ever be caught manipulating a market. Silver prices, any prices. It would be a worldwide catastrophe. We'd lose faith. Every country in the world would lose faith in us, the government, etc. But if you allowed a bank to do it knowingly, help them, here it is, take this, we need you to deal with this, and we're going to back you up. But if the day may come when you have to take the fall. We're going to get this going as long as we can. Banks will come and go that inherit this time bomb, known as the silver short position. But you're going to inherit it. We're going to help you out. And the day may come where you go under. Why? Because we, the government, can't show that it was us who wanted this, needed this, and allowed this. We have to pretend it was a bank. We had regulatory agencies. They didn't catch it. We need more manpower. We need more funding for the CFTC and other groups to catch this so this never happens again. It's always a case of it. So it never happens again. We got to do that. And then it happens again and again and again. So I think JP Morgan may be digging its own grave here, whether it wanted to or not. And they've got handed off the silver time bomb short position. So all these times we saw, again, from 28 to 50, back down to 40, down into the 30s, back into the 44 range, back down, back into the 44 again, back down to the low 30s, down into the 20s, back up to 38, not that long ago, 38. Boom, we get slammed again. Wow, just get slammed out of nowhere. Now we're stuck at $27, $28. And people are still buying silver. And I'm looking at these COMEX, the COT reports and stuff. A lot of silver leaving the vaults. A lot of silver, physical, leaving the vaults. And as he said, he doesn't know if they're having a problem with a physical delivery issue, trying to put these fires out of people demanding delivery, even though it's not a lot of people demanding delivery. But again, it doesn't take a lot of people demanding delivery for these paper products because they are so absurdly leveraged. Average leverage should be 9 or 10 to 1. What they do is 100 to 200 to 1. No one's sure where it's at. So that would mean the more leveraged it is, the little tiny amount of people that actually ask for the real thing cause a major problem. It doesn't take half the people that have paper or a quarter of the contracts to come in and say, hey, we want delivery. When it's leveraged 100, 200, 300 times, whatever it is, and I know it's well over 100, the leveraging, it only takes a tiny percent. It may only take 5%, 4%, 2%, 1% of the contracts, I don't know, to cause problems. And I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing lots of movement in these vaults. Out 600, there was 600,000 ounces of silver taken out of the last like 4 days, like every day in a row, 3 or 4 days in a row. And I think it was from the Scotia vault, whatever. Or actually, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. They have different vaults that they use, but it's all the same. You know, it comes from the COMEX basically. So I think this. They're scrambling. They're having to borrow silver all over the place. Remember the other day I was talking, maybe it was a month ago, about, and I don't know if it was the GLD or the SLV, but there was an exact amount missing from the SLV or GLD. That was the exact amount that somehow got tied into the COT report for the COMEX deliveries and stuff. So it was as if they were short some gold, had to go on the SLV or the GLD paper, whatever, and get it somehow to bring it over here and put this fire out. It was the exact same amount. That's not how it's supposed to happen. They are not supposed to be going to SLV or GLD. They should have companies, mining companies that are on standby. We need some silver. We're going to take it over here, have this company mint it, whatever, 100-ounce bars, 1,000-ounce bars, whatever, and that's our stockpile. And when someone demands delivery, here it is from our stockpile, here you go. These guys have been scrambling and scrambling and scrambling over and over and over again, looking at these numbers. So I think this silver short position, and that's the point I was really going to make a minute ago, and I was kind of interrupting myself, was that we've dealt with the prices, 28 to 50, back to 40, down to 30, back to 20 to 38, etc. And we're getting upset that, man, the damn price, why won't these freaking price right? I'm so sick of this manipulation. And we see them slam the price down and whatever. Every time that they have to slam the price down at all, or even keep it where it's at, and there's all these contracts, buy orders, they're going to have to fill those by selling off their contracts, right? They're losing money. They have to lose money on these short positions. There's winners and losers. When the price starts going up, the short position sucks. When the price goes down, the long position sucks. But it is critical that JP Morgan keeps this massive short position always. So every time the price moves a little bit, boom. I know it's hurting them. So I think this is what helped destroy that $2 billion that turned into $5, $6 billion, which may end up turning into $9 billion, etc. Man, I'm with this guy. I think it has mostly, if not all, to do with JP Morgan's inheritance of that silver short position that they're trying to balance and use and keep afloat, so to speak. And then can you imagine if this comes out, the other video I just did a second ago, energy price scam, LIBOR rate scam, everything you can think of scam that's coming out now for JP Morgan and the other banks, but namely we're focused on JP Morgan right now. All that comes out, and then boom, perfectly timed, the CFTC comes out with its position limit rule, which is again just the spot month rule, not the non-spot month rule. And I told you I'm a little fishy about that. Don't know if I want to buy into it 100% yet, but I might. And then we have also, oh, by the way, JP Morgan's caught by the CFTC. They were manipulating it, definitely manipulated it, etc. Then what happens? What happens to the price of silver? I don't know, actually. Because, okay, we're caught red-handed. You're caught red-handed, but you still have the damn massive short position. So what? They can't get rid of that short position until the full rules are in play by the CFTC. In my opinion, I don't think that they have these short positions for every single spot month. You know, they have it for here, then they sell off and whatever, and they get new short positions for the next month, and they sell that off, and they get new short positions for the next month. Maybe they do. I have no way of knowing. But it's a lot easier not dealing with the spot month when you're playing that paper game to play with the non-spot months, because you can go out many months way out, or even multiple months way out. Some, 5,000 contracts in 2 months out, 5,000 contracts 6 months out, 5,000 contracts 8 months out, whatever. Rather than have 15,000 contracts for this particular month and then sell them, and then next month 15,000 and sell them again. Having said that, if that's what JP Morgan's doing, is have a bunch here and then they sell them, then they have a bunch next month and they sell them, that's the spot month. And therefore, when they kick in this rule, the position limit rule for the spot month, it should really hurt JP Morgan, and they're going to have to get rid of the contracts. They have to be in compliance. So is there going to be a mass sell-off? I think so. And when would be the greatest time for a mass sell-off? Before the rule kicked in, obviously. You wouldn't want to do it then, because then everyone would be screaming at the regulators and the CME group, which is privately owned. It's self-regulatory agency, privately owned. Okay, that's a good idea. And saying, hey, these guys are manipulating it now. That's where this problem came from. So you wouldn't want to do that when they say the position limits are getting kicked into gear right now, and now the prices are being destroyed. I mean, I guess they could. But wouldn't it be better if they did the old, what I've been talking about here lately, 35% margin hike coming soon, August, supposedly. That's what the last I heard from the CFTC and the CME group. Early August, 35% margin hike across the board for all commodities. It'll get rid of the corn problems right now. Corn's extremely expensive. Soybeans, wheat, everything's expensive on the market right now, on the commodities market. It'll get rid of all that problem, because if you jack the price, the 35% margin hike is going to cause everybody to sell. All the traders, day traders, any trader, they're going to sell, because they're not going to sit on that and take a beating when everyone else sells and the price gets smashed, and then all of a sudden they're getting margin calls. It's not going to happen. So the price will be a massive fire sale, and that's when I think JP Morgan will start to flush out some of its, or a lot of its, short positions to be in compliance in another month or two when the rule kicks in, the position limit rule kicks in. So they'll use the 35% margin hike as an excuse for a bloodbath on the commodities markets to destroy all commodity prices, including gold and silver, to start with. JP Morgan will finally be relieved. Oh, we got rid of that short position. And then the position limit rule can kick into gear, basically. That's one way it could go. Again, I'm not a fly on the wall. I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I would love to know exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, when they're going to do it, what's the reasoning. But I can't, and neither can you, because we're not one of the club. So we have to look at everything else around us and all this crap and the truths and the lies, and this person's got a source and this one doesn't, but this guy... You have to put all this crap together and come up with some kind of reasonable opinion. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know I'm right. But damn it, doesn't what I say make sense at least? I think so. All I know is this stuff's picking up speed. Sit back and let's see what happens.